I remember the exact second everything fell apart. The air in the office was heavy, like it always got right before lunch, when everyone was counting minutes to freedom. I was finishing a campaign pitch I'd been working on for 3 weeks, eyes glued to my laptop screen, when my boss's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Lena, can you come into my office?" The way he said my name, sharp, clipped, like it already carried guilt, made the back of my neck stiffen. I looked up and saw half the team staring at me. Some sympathetic, most curious. I stood up, trying to act calm even though my stomach was turning knots. He didn't wait for me to sit. He stood by the window, arms folded. Behind him, the skyline stretched in glass and concrete, a perfect metaphor for how small I suddenly felt. He turned, expression cold. "Do you know why you're here?" I shook my head slowly. He sighed, almost dramatically. "We've been reviewing your productivity over the last quarter." He opened a folder, already printed, already decided. "And it seems like you've been stealing office time." For a second, I thought I misheard him. "Stealing office time?" I repeated. He nodded, lips pressed into a thin, rehearsed smile. "You've been working on personal projects during work hours. Emails, designs, communications outside of agency tasks. It's unprofessional. It's theft." The room tilted for a moment. I couldn't even breathe. I started. He cut me off. "Don't deny it. We've got logs. You've been building something, your little freelance side gig, right?" He said little, like it was dirty. What he didn't know was that my so-called side gig was nothing but a passion project, an idea I'd been developing after hours. I'd stay late in the office because home felt too empty, and designing was the only thing that kept me sane. But none of that mattered. The verdict was already written in that folder. He leaned back, voice calm but cruel. "We can't afford disloyalty here. Pack up your desk. HR will handle your exit." And just like that, 3 years of loyalty, 12-hour shifts, weekends sacrificed, gone. I stood there frozen. "I gave everything to this job," I whispered. He shrugged. "Sometimes everything isn't enough." Then he extended his hand, that fake corporate handshake they teach you in leadership seminars, the one that says we're being professional, when what it really means is you've already lost. I stared at that hand for a long moment. Then I shook it. And in my head, I swore quietly, "I'll make you regret this handshake." When I walked out, the whole office went silent. People pretended to type, but everyone was watching. I packed my desk in a cardboard box, the cliché you see in movies, except it wasn't funny. One of my coworkers, Maya, slipped me a note as I passed her desk. It said, "You didn't deserve that." I smiled weakly. No one ever does. Outside, the sunlight was almost mocking. It felt wrong, too bright. I sat in my car, holding that stupid box, and let myself cry for exactly 5 minutes. Then I wiped my face and whispered, "You're not done. You're just starting." The next few weeks were rough. No job, no plan, just a bruised ego and rent due. But humiliation has a funny way of turning into motivation when you have nothing left to lose. I spent my days redesigning my portfolio, reaching out to old contacts, posting small design jobs online. Nothing big. At night, I'd work on the same concept that got me accused of stealing time, a small, independent creative agency model that focused on helping startups tell their stories authentically, without the corporate fluff. I called it Studio Nova. It didn't exist yet, except in a folder on my laptop and a notebook filled with sketches and ideas. By week 3, I got my first freelance client, a small coffee shop that couldn't afford big agency rates. They needed a rebrand, new logo, menus, packaging. I charged them $400, terrified they'd say no. They said yes. I poured my heart into it. When I delivered the designs, the owner's eyes lit up. She said, "You made my dream real." That one sentence hit harder than any performance review I'd ever received. A week later, she posted about it on social media. 3 more small businesses reached out. Suddenly, I had clients. Small ones, but real. I worked from my kitchen table, surviving on instant coffee and adrenaline. No vacations. No weekends. No backup plan. Just me, my laptop, and that promise I'd made in my head. Make him regret it. 3 months in, something strange happened. A marketing conference invited local small businesses to showcase their work. I hesitated, I didn't even have a proper company yet. But something inside me said, go. I borrowed $300 from a friend, rented a tiny booth, and printed cheap flyers that said, Studio Nova, creative that works harder than you do. The booth looked humble compared to the others, no big screens or glossy banners. But I had something they didn't: hunger. People stopped by, listened, asked questions. By the end of the day, I had a list of 10 serious leads. When I got home that night, I stared at that list, tears in my eyes. It wasn't revenge yet, but it was the start of something that could be. I didn't realize it at the time, but that small conference changed everything. A week after it ended, my inbox exploded. Startups, local brands, even a few nonprofits wanted to work with Studio Nova. They didn't care that it was just me running everything. They cared about how real my work felt. My designs weren't polished to corporate perfection. They had soul. And that's exactly what people were craving. In less than a month, I had so many clients that I had to turn some down. I didn't even have an assistant. I was my own designer, marketer, accountant, and janitor. I'd fall asleep at my desk with my laptop still glowing and wake up 4 hours later ready to go again. I remember one night vividly. It was 2 a.m., I was on my 5th cup of coffee, and I just sat there, staring at my screen. I whispered to myself, "You're doing it. You're actually doing it." I took that feeling, that tiny spark of hope, and used it like fuel. Every project, every client testimonial, every late-night revision, I poured all my pain into my work. Every no I'd ever heard turned into another hour of effort. And little by little, my revenge started to take shape, not as anger, but as success. 2 months later, I hired my first freelancer, then another, then a web developer. Suddenly, Studio Nova wasn't just me anymore, it was us. We met in cafes, brainstormed on napkins, built websites from borrowed Wi-Fi. It was messy, chaotic, beautiful. And through it all, I kept seeing his face, my old boss, every time I pushed myself harder. The man who said I was stealing time. He had no idea how right he was. I was stealing time from him, from his company, from the system that told me I wasn't enough. And I was using it to build something that would make him remember my name. 6 months passed faster than I could blink. Studio Nova wasn't small anymore. We had a rented office, tiny but ours. The walls were white, the desks mismatched, but it was the first place that felt like home. Our clients were growing, too, not just cafes or boutiques, but real brands. One afternoon, I got an email from a company looking for a rebranding pitch. They didn't list their name, just a meeting request through an agency platform. I didn't think much of it until I walked into the conference room and saw who was sitting at the table. My ex-boss. For a moment, time froze. He didn't recognize me right away, maybe because I looked different. I wasn't the nervous employee with a cardboard box anymore. My hair was styled, my clothes sharp, my confidence unshakable. When he finally looked up from his laptop, his jaw tightened. "Lena," he said, his voice uncertain. I smiled, polite, professional. "Hello, David. It's been a while." He blinked, clearly trying to process what was happening. "You're representing Studio Nova?" "That's right," I said, taking a seat across from him. "I'm the founder." The silence that followed was delicious. He cleared his throat and tried to regain control of the situation. "Well, congratulations. I've heard some things about your agency. You've grown fast." I shrugged, pretending to be humble. "I guess I've been stealing a lot of office time." He didn't laugh. The meeting went on, and I could see the cracks in his company. His slides were sloppy, his ideas outdated. They were desperate for new branding because they were bleeding clients. Everything about him screamed exhaustion, the weight of someone who thought they'd never lose control, but did. When he left, I sat in my car for a long time, just staring at the city lights. He didn't know it yet, but that meeting was the beginning of his end, and my revenge had just entered its final act. Over the next few weeks, I did what I did best, worked. Studio Nova started attracting investors, mostly small business funds that supported women-owned startups. I pitched hard, I networked harder, and within a month, I secured a $1.2 million investment. It didn't feel real. I stood in my new office, glass walls, custom logo on the door, and thought back to that day he fired me. The humiliation, the way my hands shook when I carried that box to my car. And now this. I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm, focused, dangerous. When I saw a financial report showing that his company, his pride and joy, was struggling, I didn't feel pity. I saw opportunity. Through a mutual investor, I found out they were seeking a buyer. Their profits had crashed, half the team had left, and they were drowning. I scheduled a meeting. Not as an ex-employee, not as a rival, but as a potential investor. When I walked into that boardroom, there were 3 executives. And him. His eyes widened the moment he saw me. I sat down, cool and composed. Let's talk numbers. He tried to mask his discomfort, but I could see the sweat on his palms. I led the discussion, clear and direct. His partners didn't care about history. They cared about money. And Studio Nova had plenty. After 45 minutes, the deal was done in principle. I'd buy their company for a price that was, frankly, merciful. When the meeting ended, the others left to finalize paperwork, leaving just the 2 of us. He looked at me across the table, his voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. You planned this, didn't you? I tilted my head. No, you did. He frowned. You fired me for stealing time, I said softly. But all I did was use the time you wasted doubting me. He didn't answer. I stood, walked around the table, and placed a check on the wood surface in front of him. He looked down. His eyes widened. It was a check made out to him, signed by me, for $1. He looked confused. What is this supposed to mean? I smiled faintly. That's the price of your pride. I'm buying your company, and I want you to remember this moment every time you think about firing someone like me again. He didn't say a word. As I turned to leave, I paused by the door and said, You were right about one thing, David. He looked up, defeated. I was stealing time. I was stealing the time to build my empire. Then I walked out, not just of that boardroom, but of every memory that ever made me feel small. That night, I sat in my car, parked outside the same building where I'd once been fired. The lights were still on in the top floor, his old office. My office now. I thought about the girl I used to be, shaking hands with her boss, trying not to cry, holding onto a cardboard box. If I could go back, I'd tell her, keep stealing time. Every second you steal from people who underestimate you becomes part of your future victory. Revenge didn't feel like fire anymore. It felt like peace. Because the truth was, I didn't destroy him. He destroyed himself the moment he stopped believing I was worth his time. When the deal officially closed, I thought I'd feel euphoric, like fireworks, champagne, a movie ending where everything finally makes sense. But the truth? It was quiet. No crowds cheering, no dramatic music. Just silence. And me, sitting in my new office chair, the same office he once ruled, listening to the faint hum of the city outside. The same window he used to stare out of while giving orders was now behind my desk. And when I looked out, I didn't see power. I saw distance. All the people still struggling to be seen, to be heard, to be believed. It hit me, revenge is a funny thing. It feels sweet when you dream about it, but when you finally taste it, it's bittersweet because you realize it was never about them. It was always about you. That night, I stayed in the office long after everyone left. I turned off the lights, sat in the dark, and whispered to myself, you did it. You really did it. But I also whispered something else, don't become him. That was the real test. Because success changes people, sometimes more than failure ever does. Over the next few weeks, the old company began its transformation. New name, new culture, new energy. I merged it with Studio Nova, creating a single powerhouse brand. We rebuilt from the ground up, transparent pay, flexible hours, creative freedom. No fake smiles. No office politics. I made a promise to myself, no one working for me would ever walk out with a cardboard box and a broken spirit. And you know what? People noticed. Within months, clients returned, not because of our old reputation, but because they could feel the difference. We weren't selling marketing anymore. We were selling trust. And that's something money can't fake. One day, I was reviewing invoices when Maya, my old coworker, the one who slipped me that note the day I was fired, sent me a message. It said, "You really did it, didn't you?" I smiled and replied, "We did. You believed in me first." She joined my new company a week later. And when she walked into the office for her first day, she laughed and said, "Wow, you really turned the tables." I told her no, I didn't turn them. I built a new one. Months turned into a year, and every success reminded me how fragile power is, how one cruel decision, one unfair judgment, can create the person who ends up replacing you. I didn't see my ex-boss again for a long time. But one rainy evening, as I was leaving the office, I saw him outside the building. He looked older, smaller, like life had chipped away at him. For a moment, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Anger? No. Pity? Maybe. But mostly peace. He walked up, hesitant. "Lena." "David," I said, my tone even. He nodded. "I just wanted to say congratulations." It almost sounded genuine. "Thank you," I said softly. He paused. "I was wrong about you." I looked at him for a long time. "Yeah," I said finally. "You were." And then I walked away, not out of pride, but out of closure. Some doors don't need to be slammed. They just need to be left behind. People often ask me what the best revenge is. And I always tell them it's not money. It's not power. It's growth. It's waking up every day knowing that the person who tried to break you only taught you how to build yourself stronger. The funny part is, I don't even think about that day in the office anymore. But sometimes, when I look around my team, the laughter, the energy, the passion, I remember how it all started. With humiliation. With doubt. With one unfair accusation. "You are stealing office time." He meant it as an insult. But it became my origin story. Because I was stealing time to dream, time to plan, time to become someone I was never allowed to be inside those walls. So yes, I stole time. And I used every second of it to build my empire. There's one last thing I keep in my office. It sits on the shelf behind my desk, an old, worn cardboard box. The same one I carried out of his company that day. It's empty now, except for a folded note that says, "Sometimes being fired is just the universe giving you a head start." Whenever a new intern joins our team, they always ask what it means. And I tell them it means this place was built on second chances, including mine. One night, after a long week, I stayed late again, just like old times. The city lights outside looked softer now, almost gentle. I leaned back in my chair, thinking about everything that had happened in just 1 year. Losing everything. Starting from nothing. And ending up here, not because I wanted revenge, but because I refused to stay small. My phone buzzed, a message from a new client. Another startup. Another dreamer. And I smiled, because it never gets old helping people like that. Maybe that's what real success is. Not proving someone wrong, but proving yourself right. Still, every once in a while, when I see a nervous employee walking into a boss's office, I think of that girl I used to be. The one who was told she wasn't loyal enough. The one who was told she was stealing time. And I silently send her a message across time. Don't cry too long. Don't quit. Because one day, you'll walk back into that office, not to beg for your job, but to buy the company. And when you do, don't forget to smile. 6 months after I bought his company, Studio Nova wasn't just a name anymore, it was a movement. What started as me alone at a kitchen table had become a full-fledged creative empire. We weren't just designing logos or ads, we were shaping how brands told their stories, with truth, vulnerability, and courage. And somehow, that message resonated across borders. We started getting calls from New York, London, Dubai, even Tokyo. I remember laughing when I saw the first international contract come in, a beauty brand from Paris. They'd seen our work online and said, "Your designs feel like they were made by someone who understands pain." They were right. Pain teaches you design in a way no degree ever could. It teaches you balance, contrast, and the art of creating light from darkness. Soon, we had offices in 3 cities. And everywhere we went, I hired people who had stories like mine. The underestimated, the overlooked, the ones told they weren't good enough. The ones who got fired, rejected, or pushed aside. I didn't want perfect resumes. I wanted heart, because talent can be taught. But resilience? That's born in the fire. And my fire had burned bright enough for all of us. One of my favorite hires was a young woman named Clara. She reminded me so much of myself, quiet, driven, hungry. She'd been let go from a big agency after speaking up about unfair treatment. When she came to the interview, she said, "I just need a place that believes in me." I told her, "You've found it." Watching her grow into one of our best creative leads felt like watching my younger self finally win. The press started noticing us. First, small blogs. Then Forbes, Business Insider, even a TV feature. Every interview began the same way. "So, is it true you bought the company that once fired you?" I'd smile and say yes. But the story isn't about revenge, it's about resilience. But deep down, I knew it was about both. Because revenge, when done right, isn't destruction. It's reconstruction. You don't burn the house down. You rebuild it stronger and make them watch. Then came the invitation that changed everything. A global leadership summit in Los Angeles, a gathering of CEOs, entrepreneurs, and innovators from all over the world. They wanted me to give a keynote speech titled, "From Fired to Founder, The Power of a Second Chance." I almost said no. Public speaking terrified me. But then I thought about that boardroom. The day I was fired. The silence. The humiliation. And I realized this was my moment to speak for every person who's ever walked out of a job feeling small. The day of the speech, I stood backstage, palms sweating, heart pounding. Thousands of people in the audience. Cameras. Lights. I took a deep breath, stepped up to the podium, and started. "I remember the day my boss fired me," I said. You could have heard a pin drop in that office. He accused me of stealing office time. And you know what? He was right. The crowd laughed softly, not sure where I was going. I was stealing time. Time to dream. Time to build something of my own. Time to believe I could be more than someone else's employee. And 6 months later, I bought his company. Gasps. Murmurs. Then silence. The good kind. The listening kind. I looked out at the audience, faces from all over the world, and said, "If you've ever been underestimated, rejected, or told you're not enough, good. Let them say it. Let them doubt you. Because their doubt becomes your blueprint. Their dismissal becomes your motivation. And one day, you'll walk back through the doors that closed on you, not to ask for a job, but to sign the checks." Applause. Real, thunderous, rising applause. I felt tears sting my eyes. Not from pride, but from release. Because for the first time, I wasn't speaking from pain anymore. I was speaking from power. After that event, everything changed again. Investors poured in. Partnerships doubled. But more importantly, people, especially women, started writing to me. Thousands of messages. Some said, "I got fired last month and your story kept me going." Others said, "I was scared to start my own business, but you made me believe I could." I read every message, every single one, because I knew what it felt like to be that person sitting alone, doubting yourself, thinking the world just ended. If my story could help even one of them realize that getting fired isn't failure, it's redirection, then it was all worth it. 1 year later, I got an invitation I never expected. It was from a business magazine. They were hosting a reunion panel featuring influential agency founders and their former mentors. And guess who was listed on the same lineup? David, my ex-boss. When I saw his name, I actually laughed. Life really does have a sense of humor. The event was held in the same hotel where I'd once attended a marketing conference as a nervous junior designer, hoping someone would just notice me. Now, I was walking in as the keynote guest. He was already there when I arrived. He looked up, and for the first time, he smiled, not out of pride, not out of bitterness, but maybe understanding. We shook hands again. But this time, the handshake wasn't cold. It was mutual. He said quietly, "You built something incredible. I guess you did steal time, but you used it better than anyone." I smiled softly. We both learned something from that day. "Yeah," he said. "I learned never to underestimate hunger." We both laughed, and for the first time, I didn't see him as an enemy, just a chapter that taught me how to write my own story. That night, I walked outside to the rooftop terrace of the hotel. The city lights stretched forever like a living thing. I thought about the journey, the pain, the sleepless nights, the endless coffee, the fear, the drive. And I realized something simple, something I wished I could tell everyone listening to my story online. Revenge isn't about proving someone wrong. It's about proving yourself unstoppable. The world doesn't owe you fairness, but it does respond to persistence. You might not win tomorrow. You might not win in a year. But if you keep going quietly, consistently, one day, the same people who doubted you will introduce you as inspiration. A few weeks later, I returned to the old building where this all began. It had been completely remodeled under Studio Nova's name. New colors, new energy, new memories. But I kept one thing the same, the small meeting room where I was fired. I turned it into a mentorship space called the Time Room. Every month, I meet with young professionals who've been fired or let go unfairly. They come in scared, angry, unsure. And I tell them what no one told me. You didn't lose your job. You found your beginning. Then I point to the plaque on the wall that says, "Steal time, build dreams." Now, whenever I walk through the halls of my company, I see a team of people who once felt broken, now thriving. Every smile, every success, every late-night idea feels like a small rebellion against the system that tried to shrink us. And maybe that's the real story. Not a tale of revenge, but of rebirth. Still, sometimes when I look out the window late at night, the same way he once did, I whisper to myself, "You were right, David. I was stealing time." And then I smile, because now, I own it.